I was listening to a props pod though, um, yesterday, and I wanted I was doing it while door dashing. I wish I did it at home so I could write down some of the props that they were saying. 'Cause they had some really good stats for him. All right, we are live. I'm sad we can we'll get AB on. I told him, I texted him, I told him the pod after the Super Bowl recap. It's all his.
Yes. Did your sickness only last a day?
Yeah, dude, I think it was some food poisoning shit or a
Yeah.
mix of
Must
like,
have been.
yeah, dude, I don't know what the hell it was. And like the past like year when I've been drinking the next morning, I normally have shit like that. And yeah, with Connor, I like specifically made sure like I didn't get drunk or anything, and I still,
Right.
I had this rare burger though that we were talking about at dinner,
Oh,
and I was like, oh,
gotcha.
I was like literally looked at Connor, I was like, oh, this thing's a little pink, but it's good. And I'm guessing that's what the dangerous combo
Yeah.
was.
That that happened to me while I was in Denver. I was like,
I was like,
I
the
must
thing
have
that
lost like 15 pounds
that's what was
compared
different.
to.
Like normally afterwards when I'm sick, I feel like a mess, but I can feel like it's because of the drunkenness. This I was like
Mm-hmm.
sweating, but I was cold,
Mm-hmm.
and I was
Have
like,
a
dude,
fever.
yeah, I felt like I had a fever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like just I couldn't move.
Yeah, that's the worst,
Yeah, I felt bad for Connor. He had to like basically nurse me for like half a day.
man.
All right, we are live. We're good to go. I just got to get the NBA trades so I have the full details, and then I think I'm good to go.
What was the other trade that wasn't Luca Fox?
There was one today where the Mavericks traded Caleb Martin, or
Oh, we
yeah,
did
so it's
that
nothing big.
for Quentin
Yeah,
Grimes.
yeah, for Quentin Grimes. So it's really nothing
Should we
big, but
talk? We can talk about like Jimmy Butler quickly too.
yeah, we can talk about the landscape of it. Um, I want to see. I'll look up. That's a good point. I'll look up if there's any Jimmy Butler news before we go.
Last I saw, he's just refusing to go anywhere. It's not Phoenix.
It's not Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't know how recent that is.
Yeah, I saw that, and all right, well they're screwed then. So it looks like yeah, if this Suns, all right, well we'll get into it. All right, let's do it. Let me post on Snapchat, and then I'm good to go. Did you see my Snapchat story? It's 1 a.m. last night,
I was
and
gonna slide up on that. I just saw it on the train ride home.
I I'm sitting
I'd
there
be
and
down for that.
it was awesome. It was like these guys are like 70 or 60 and it's Monday night at 1 a.m. doing fantasy basketball. I was like, these guys are locked in. I saw 17 viewers and I was
If
like,
there
I felt like a connection.
mhm. If there's ever a time where life gets too much where we have to stop doing the pod, we definitely have to bring it back. Like when we're both retired,
Oh yeah.
would be awesome.
Yeah. The revival series.
That would really be the wise guys.
Yeah, no, we would have like 50 years. I mean, think about it. If we do this for our whole lives, like we're gonna have like a million
We're gonna be so
videos.
wise, yeah.
We're gonna have a video like and just the what I always think about is like there's just a bunch of recordings of us on the internet that
Oh,
anyone could go to at any time. I don't know.
yep.
Just weird. Um, all right. Payne Davis is locked in. Love to hear it. I was texting him earlier
Yeah,
today.
let's see.
He's ready to go.
Wait, where is our live? Is it because I'm on our YouTube account?
I don't know. But if
Oh, there it is.
all right.
All right, yeah, 3 viewers. I'm assuming we have good volume then.
Yeah, Peyton. Yeah, it looks like the audio is going through on your side, so I think we're good to go.
All right, cool. I'm ready to go whenever then.
All right,
Take
let's
one
get
more
started.
bite.
Yeah, I get one more scarf in.
I get a strawberry.
There you go. All right, we'll get started in. Actually, will you be good to go in 3, 2,
It's a little chewy because it's lamb.
1?
Give me a second.
Yeah, all right, all right.
All right, we're good.
All right. We can start it in 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to the Wise Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Brody Fitzgerald, joined as always by my co-host, Chris Hagan.
How you guys doing?
Doing great, Chris. Sorry we missed the Saturday pod. I wasn't feeling well. I had a bad burger. That's my excuse. Luckily, we were going to do a whole NBA pod, and it would have all been pointless because Luka Doncic got traded that night. So we actually lucked out in that sense. But we will be having, after the Super Bowl, post Super Bowl recap, full NBA pod, as promised, with Aaron Barton. He's locked in. He's ready to go. But we want to give him his time to shine and be able to discuss all of this. That being said, today we will be doing the Luka Doncic trade. We will be doing the De'Aaron Fox trade, all the other little things that are going on in the NBA right now before the trade deadline is officially over on Thursday. And then the second half of the pod, we will be doing a preview for the Super Bowl. Not props, just based off what our vibes and how we're feeling and stats that we pulled out. So that's the pod for today. Let's get right into it, Chris. So first of all, were you awake for this Luka Doncic trade?
No, I woke up and I saw it at probably 7 in the morning. I did the thing where I wake up, I kind of roll out of bed, stretch a little bit, a glass of water, and I check my phone, and I'm just scrolling through. Got a couple texts, couple alerts, and then Luka Doncic traded to the Lakers. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? And then I realized that half the notifications on my phone are about this trade, and I just kind of stared at it for a few seconds. I was like, this can't be real, right? Or this is gonna fall through somehow, right? They can't actually happen.
Yeah.
Here we are a couple days later. It's very real.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everybody probably had the same reaction as I did. That was kind of in shock. You read it and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it just doesn't.
There's no way that they would do that, right?
Yeah.
What would possibly be the point of trading him?
So,
and I still don't know what it is 2 days later.
We'll try to break that down today. I'll try to. Of course, you can't understand. I can't understand why you would ever trade Luka Doncic, but from a Maverick standpoint on how they think they feel, I'm starting to piece it together of what they are trying to accomplish. It still doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't work out. But
I understand where they're coming from. I just think they're wrong.
Yes, I think they're wrong. So I was up. I was sick that day, so I was in and out of sleep. I was really groggy. I roll over in bed. And I see the notification pop up on the Real app, and it just shows player going from here to here and here to here, and it just shows Luka going to the Lakers, Anthony Davis going to the Mavs, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if I was in a daze or what, but I was just this is a 2K, this is some Adam Scheffner fake, and then I'm looking around and I get a phone call from my buddy Arian, shout out Arian, and I let it go to voicemail because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And he's leaving a voicemail and I pick it up halfway through and I'm like, dude, is this thing real? And he's like, yes, this is exactly what's happening. And it's this is the craziest trade in NBA history. It doesn't seem like this is the craziest trade in NBA history. It doesn't seem like there's a viable comparison to this trade. And when you look at the age of Luka Doncic, you're giving it. They just gave the Lakers 10 more years of competing for championships.
I would go as far to say it's the most shocking trade in sports.
Yeah,
I can't think of another trade that we've seen like this, especially stars get traded. And like in baseball, it happens all the time where like a star is not gonna resign, so they trade him. It's gonna happen though.
Yeah,
Like
that's
there's
the
rumors
difference.
about it for weeks, sometimes even years. This was, you wake up, you spend your whole day Saturday. Like think about this from the perspective of a Mavs fan. You just go about your Saturday, and you're probably not really thinking about basketball that much. You know that you
Yeah,
have Luka
Luka's
Doncic on
hurt,
your team, and then you wake
yeah,
up Sunday and he's gone.
yeah. It's it's a blind side. I mean, all the reports that came out, Luka had no interest of leaving. He didn't demand a trade. Um,
Just bought a
there
house, didn't he?
he just bought a house. He just bought a house in
I
Dallas.
saw that one, and I thought that was like a Ballsack Sports NBA sent out one news where it was like he just bought a $15 million house, and I had to like source check it.
The
But yeah,
when you look at the trade details, so the full day of trade details: Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first round pick. You couldn't even get the 2031 first round pick. You couldn't get a pick swap. I mean, these guys. I mean, we're looking at Kevin Durant, who went for 5 first round picks, or 4 or 5, and then they flip and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Then they flipped Mikal Bridges for 4 more first round picks. Like these, it's just when you don't. This is what happens when you don't put it on the market. They clearly there was a backdoor deal between Rob Pelinka and Nico Manning. Um, is that his last name? I might be getting it wrong. Nico Manning sounds like a
I
player.
almost said Collins. It's not. No, it's not Manning. It's
It starts with an M. I'm totally. It might be Manning. All right. Anyways, they've had a relationship for the past 20 years. He was the agent of Kobe Bryant. Rob Pelinka was
Nico Harrison.
Nico Harrison. There you go. He was the agent for Nike for Kobe Bryant, and Rob Pelinka was the agent for Kobe Bryant. They've had a relationship for 20 years. Clearly, there was some, hey, I mean, there was reports that, hey, do you want to do this? And the Lakers were like, really? You actually want to do this? And then they mulled it over for like 3 weeks, which I don't know what the mulling was. I don't know what the Lakers were
No,
doing
I
to
don't
mull
know
over.
either. I mean,
Um,
they probably sent a private investigator to Luka's house to make sure that he wasn't engaging in like some serious criminal activity.
that's
That's
what
the
you got.
only
That's the only possible
thing that I can
explanation,
imagine.
that he's like stifling funds from the Mavericks somehow. Like their charity organizations are getting stifled by Luka Doncic somehow. Like that's how you like that's a good enough excuse to trade this guy. Like that's like the only excuse to trade this guy. Um,
Yeah, but no, it's because he's a little bit overweight,
and it's
and apparently was mean to some of the people in the front office.
this is my theory when working, because I it came out like he was kind of a pain to work with, a little overweight, didn't take his conditioning very seriously. That matters when you're Zion Williamson and the Pelicans haven't won a playoff game since you drafted him.
Yeah.
That matters when you're Joel Embiid and you miss 400 games out of your 800 games played or whatever. Um, that matters so much more with everybody else than when it does when you go to the NBA Finals because of Luka Doncic. And it seems like Nico Harrison believes that the roster moves that he made last year at the deadline were the reason why they held themselves to the finals, and it wasn't Luka Doncic. And it's just a laughable theory that really doesn't make much sense at all. You're looking at Luka Doncic, who was injured during the playoff series. He was on one leg. We were saying it the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and doing everything for that team. Um, and of course, you could say his defense was a problem, but you really you actually care about that at the age of 25, and he was injured on one leg. Like it's a. I thought they thought Luka was a bigger problem than he clearly than he really is, and he's going to prove that because Luka's a competitor, and the they think they're maximizing with this Anthony Davis stuff. And look, Anthony Davis is a defensive player of the year candidate. I mean, he's never going to win it with Wemby now, but and he's a defensive anchor that won the 2020 championship. Now he's playing with 2 other centers like he wanted. Um, he kind of fits with Kyrie, but you still don't trade it for Luka Doncic. You don't trade it for the next 10 years of Luka Doncic. And um, it's they might still win games. They might be in the Western Conference Finals this year again. Like I think this team is pretty good, but in 5 years, what's this team going to look like? In 3 years, what's this team going to look like? Anthony Davis is not going to age well, and
next year.
yeah, exactly. Next year, what if Kyrie's unhappy? What if he demands a trade again? Like you finally got Kyrie in this
Both those guys are
situation.
old, though.
Yeah, they're 31 and 34 years old. So in 3 years, you're looking at 34 and 37, and Luka Doncic is going to be 28 years old, probably winning the championship in Los Angeles. It's
It would be like if the Clippers waited on Shai, waited for him to become the player that he is today, and then traded him for Paul George.
Yeah.
It's like that's the one that I'm almost comparing it to, where it's like you gave up this core piece who has like 10, 15 years of stardom ahead of him for an aging vet who's a good player. But at least that you didn't know what he was. Like,
yeah.
You've had Luke, you know what he is. He just took you to the finals. And it's not basketball aside, he's the face of the franchise. He's, I'm sure, driving so much revenue for this Mavericks team, like season tickets, merch, all that stuff, just attention, like nationally televised games, all that stuff is going to get cut in half when he's not on the roster.
The NFL comparison that I actually liked, I saw it on Twitter, would be if after the Super Bowl they traded Jamar Chase for Mike Evans. Mike Evans is a solid wide receiver. He could be your wide receiver 1 for like the next 4 years, but you're giving up on Jamar Chase for the next 10. And it just to get like a second round pick. So it's that's like the type of.
But I'd argue you got to do it with quarterbacks though, because he like in the NBA,
Luka's a quarterback.
It's such a star-driven league. You have to have a top 5 player to win the finals, and they have it.
Yeah, and the other, I'm glad you mentioned that. You have to have a top 5 player to win in the NBA. And when you look,
top 10, Tatum's not top 10.
Top 6. He's 6. We'll put him at 6. Anyways, you lucked out by getting not only you drafted Luka Doncic, but you got the Hawks to trade you to him. Like the Hawks gave you Luka Doncic, and you were Mark Cuban. I mean, there's a Mark Cuban quote that came out. He would divorce his wife over giving up Luka Doncic, and of course, he's not the head of basketball operations anymore. He doesn't have a say anymore, and you have one of those top 5 guys, and now you just give him to the Lakers for the next 10 years. Like it's almost a joke.
The no negotiation part is unbelievable. That they only spoke to the Lakers about it.
And
that like almost makes you wonder that there's collusion.
I don't think it's collusion as much as just those were the relationships that they already had. And that's what they were. And
it's such a backwards way of thinking, though.
It is. It's almost like they were
going to negotiate only with the Lakers so that his value doesn't go down because other teams know that he's on the market.
Yeah, if anything, his value would skyrocket.
Doncic. That's not how it works.
Yeah. And like, I guess you could say, hey, we didn't want people to think there was a problem with Luka if we said we're going to shop him around. But who's going to say, oh, you're shopping around? Everyone's going to think there's a problem with you. Not a problem with Luka.
Or say, oh, you have problems with him? That's okay. We'll gladly take on those problems in exchange for going to the NBA Finals. We'll make that trade.
That's what the Lakers did. I mean, they objectively, their roster is like today, right now, objectively, their roster is worse. They don't have a starting 5. They have 3 ball dominant players that who knows if they work together. But who gives a shit? Like who gives a crap? They could lose. They might like. If Luka doesn't play this whole season, because he is injured, I mean, I think he's coming back before the All-Star break. But say he doesn't play the whole season, it's still a win. He say he doesn't play until halfway through next season, it's still a win. Like this is, you're building a roster like as they took him to the Western Conference Finals. Luka with the Mavericks with a terrible roster, and they took him to the finals with it was a pretty good roster, but. They beat the OKC Thunder, who had an amazing roster. They beat they didn't beat the Nuggets. They beat the Timberwolves, who beat the Nuggets. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's crazy, crazy trade. And I feel like I'm just word souping right now, but a lot of pent up
I
stuff.
know. I don't have any like basketball analysis of this trade. I feel like it's like you're almost missing the point if you start to talk about like the fit on the floor.
Oh
Because
yeah,
of just like a macro level, it's so outrageous.
and
And I feel like we keep going in circles saying the same thing over and over again. But
I agree. To get in the basketball nitty gritty just a little bit, this does allow LeBron to be passive, to not be
Mhm.
ball dominant. And he's been waiting for Anthony Davis to be a ball dominant player since the 2020 finals. He said it. He's wanted him to be kind of it seemed like he wanted Anthony Davis to take over the team, and
Mhm.
it never happened. It never came into fruition. Do you before we move on from this trade, do you believe that LeBron did not know and found out at dinner like it was reported?
I don't believe that.
I disagree with you here. I believe it.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that him and Anthony Davis are such boys, and I think if the Lakers were like, hey, like even if it was for Luca, like we have a thought of trading Anthony Davis, he'd be like, let me get involved in this and try to figure it out. That would be. I just don't feel like
I don't
how does this
know. Because
happen?
I
How does it
also
not get
heard that
leaked if other people know? Feels like it's got to be a Rob
yes. I
Pelinka
don't know.
Nico
I
thing.
heard Windhorse say that like it was LeBron's dream to play with Luca.
I did, yes, I did see that, and
That
they
like
talked about it on a
playing with
podcast
LeBron will
before.
like fix him in terms of like his I don't know, not taking conditioning seriously and all that crap. It's not gonna help him with the referees though.
Oh, those refs are going to be getting heckled by LeBron and Luca. Every call is going to be like, "Why didn't you call this? Why didn't you call this?" It's going to be brutal for the refs in Los
Abuse.
Angeles. Yeah. So the Lakers are definitely
Also,
not
why has it
done
gotta
though.
be the Lakers too?
That's the
I mean, I
thing.
guess
It's
like we
that's
talked
why it's
about
like a
why
cruel
that
joke.
relationship is there, but it's like
It's a cruel
why has it gotta be
joke.
the Lakers?
It's a cruel, cruel joke. Um, yeah, no, this
I
stuff.
guess like the NBA is better off when the Lakers are good. So it's like I don't actually care, but
That
I'm sure
that's
there
where
are
the
many people who hate the Lakers.
and I'm sure that's where a lot of tinfoil hats get on.
Oh yeah,
Like that is the
it just seems
weird
like
part
a
about
planned
this,
job.
where it's like, hey, the ratings have been down. Everyone's been talking about the ratings. You know what's gonna fix
Mhm.
the ratings? Luca and LeBron on the same team in Los Angeles.
Right.
Like that'll fix the ratings.
Yeah.
Um,
As soon as the NFL season is wrapping up, too. I guess that's it's trade
I
deadline
will
anyway.
say
So
props to the NBA. They stole the beginning of Super Bowl week. They stole it.
they did.
Uh,
Yes,
it's hard to
that was
do.
it. Took a haymaker and
Yeah,
they
they they
landed it.
they needed the bomb to drop, and it worked.
Yep.
And you got it. Like this is it's definitely gonna give some casual fans are gonna check in. You know, next Lakers game, next
Oh yeah.
Mavs game. So this is a good deal for the NBA. And it's funny if this all the other trade deadlines have been quiet. You know, during the Super Bowl week, it's kind of been like, you know, we gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this. Now it's like couldn't wait to talk about this. So this is awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right, we
It
have
didn't
another.
end there.
Say again.
And it didn't end there.
No, and it didn't end there. Great point. The next night, Sunday night, during the Celtics come back against the Sixers, just throwing it out there. They announced that the Spurs have traded for De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings. The full trade on this is a little complicated because of the Bulls get involved. The Spurs received De'Aaron Fox and a guy named Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings received Zach LaVine, 3 first round picks, 3 second round picks, and then the Bulls receive Zach Collins, Kevin Herter, Trey Jones, and a pick. Their own pick back. Um, so great for the Spurs. I mean, they gave up nothing of importance. They didn't even have to give up Chris Paul. They didn't have to give up Stephen Castle. Not even a Jeremy Shohan or a Devin Vassell in there. So they kept all their young core. All these picks are expendable. I mean, the Hornets 2025 first round pick is going to be gold, but other than that, you're not really giving up much. I mean, you're giving up a Timberwolves pick, another Spurs pick, but you expecting Wemby to be good in 2027. Um, the Bulls here, this is just they can't escape mediocrity, man. They just can't do it.
So what was They got one pick back and it was their own.
Yeah, they got their own pick back.
Where did all the? Wait, sorry, I can't visualize this. How did the Kings get all these picks? Where are they coming from?
The picks are coming from. So the Kings are getting a pick. I'm guessing that all these picks are from the Spurs because they have a 2031 from the Timberwolves that the Spurs got in the NBA draft this year. They got a 2027 Spurs pick, and then they got 2025 Hornets pick, which I don't know where the hell that came from.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then the Bulls get their
There's
own
not
pick back.
Spurs picks outside the one.
Yes, outside the one, which the 2025 first that the Bulls got came from the Spurs, which is why I guess they're in this deal because they want their pick back. Because now they can tank. Hopefully, dude, they are just stuck in mediocrity. I mean, all these players are solid role players that are gonna fill out the nice Bulls roster, and they're just full of bench guys that are decent and are fighting for contract. Like Kevin Huerter's a good player. Trey Jones is a good player. Zach Collins is all right. I'm not the biggest Zach Collins fan. But those guys, like, they're just filling out their roster and just slugging along through this season. I guess nobody really cares about the Bulls, but we'll get into the Spurs part of this. Now they have De'Aaron Fox, who is, I think he's 27, 25 maybe?
7, yeah.
27. So he's kind of a little older for Wemby. I mean, Wemby's only 21, but I guess once you see the dominance that Wemby can
Wemby's
provide,
ready. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Wemby is already a superstar. It's ages not. You're not waiting for him to develop. He's already there. He's going to get better, obviously. Not to say that he won't, but like he's already at the point where you can compete.
Yeah, and
Being your best,
and it's
top 2 player at least.
And this is going to be a crazy difference when they have the 2 players on the court. Because when Chris Paul is in there, he slows everything down. He's 41 years old. He does nice passes and sets up the offense. And then when De'Aaron Fox is in there, they're just going to be run and gun. Hopefully looking for a lot of outlet passes for Wemby that's wide open down the field. Or De'Aaron Fox that's wide open down the field. He's super fast, super athletic. I like this a lot. I mean, I think this is going to be his shooting numbers could be a little bit better for a guy I want next to Wemby. I would like his 3-point shooting to go up a little bit, but maybe just the space of Wemby and the passes that he's going to get from Wemby is gonna help that out. But I think
add shooters too. Like this is the second year of Wemby. Like this is going to be a 3-4 year process to build the perfect roster around him, and they will add shooters.
100%. They are not. They might be done for this deadline, but they're definitely not done with adding pieces around Wemby and stuff like that. So this is a great step. And you're not going to win anything this year. You might not win anything next year, but you're going to be competing in a couple years pretty soon.
Yeah.
The Kings ended up recreating the play-in Chicago Bulls. They have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan again. It's funny. They had
the game feels like years and years ago.
They were the 2 seed.
It's really sad.
It is sad. They were the 2 seed. They come in. They had a disappointing year last year. They lose in the play-in. And then this year they have a disappointing start. They fire their head coach. Then they rally and they start winning some games. And then De'Aaron Fox doesn't really pull the rug out from under him, but like kind of gives him a warning, like, hey, once I'm a free agent, I'm going to the Spurs. So you can either trade me there or lose me in a year and a half. And it's funny because like it wasn't one of those demands that anyone hated. Like this was like the Kings are a mess. We respect you wanting to go and play with Wemby. So you got to give him props for that. I think a great career move by Fox trying to want to play with Wemby. And I think that's going to be a great duo that we're going to hear a lot about for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an awesome fit. I've always been a big fan of Fox. It's just so you gotta help me a little bit because I haven't been as tuned into the NBA. So this has been like Fox has made it known that he's wanted out for a little while now.
Yeah, it's been about a month.
Almost like an Anthony Davis where it wasn't at the last minute, but gave them time to make the trade.
Yeah, it was about a month ago. I think it was I don't remember exactly the timeline. But he basically announced that, hey, like I'm not going to re-sign with the Kings. I appreciate everything you guys have done, but it's in your best interest to get rid of me now at the deadline.
Right.
And it's funny. I wonder how do you feel about that kind of demands? And it used to be like Anthony Davis was shocking because he did it the year and a half before. It wasn't normally it was like that contract year. They're like, hey, I want to go to this team at the end of the summer. Send me there. And now it's becoming, it was longer and longer. Like we had Dame Lillard just sign the extension and then call for demand. Bradley Beal did the same thing. Um, Kuzma. Um, so now it's going like I kind of respect the Aaron Fox for sticking it out for long enough and realizing like our team's got no future. And I don't know. I give him props for this one where I feel like Anthony Davis, everyone gave him team shit.
Well, it's because the landscape of the league has changed so much since then. Where like I feel like at that point, what was that, like 7 years ago, 6 years?
Yeah, like 2018.
At that point, we were not used to this, like demanding a trade and choosing your destination. Now it happens to like probably 3 and 5 stars in the NBA.
Yeah,
like, over half.
Yeah.
Where at some point, maybe even more than that, at some point they're going to be demanding a trade. So to do it this way, a couple years later is now like the best way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it's
not
become
Harden where you demand the trade and then like things don't go well and then boom, you demand another trade.
Yeah, it's you're right. All these other stars have made like these demands that are ludicrous and these crazy demands that a person going a year and a half from their contract being expired saying I want to trade is now like mundane and not even blinked at.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that's all I got on this trade. I mean, I think basketball fit wise, the Kings will be exactly what the Kings have always done and be mediocre and be like the Bulls and probably the Bulls same way. And then the Spurs will be awesome in like 2 years.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. All right, little trade.
Kevin Huerter gets to play with Jalen Smith though.
He gets to play with who?
With Jalen Smith.
Oh yeah, they're back. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, they actually never played together, so it's kind of like a what if.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Jalen just missed him. Yeah.
Last trade that happened, small trade. Caleb Martin going to the Mavericks are not done. Caleb Martin going to the Mavericks for Quentin Grimes and a second-round pick. The reason why I want to talk about this is only because I was in a basketball group chat where Sixers fans were very upset because Caleb Martin's on a good contract with, and they called him a playoff riser. They're like, oh, he's a dog in the playoffs and he's good at defense. He's good against the Celtics. I'll give you that. He has his games against the Celtics, but if you look at the other stat, like he's not all that. And I know Quentin Grimes is not all that either.
They also have to get to the playoffs.
They need to get to the playoffs. But Quentin Grimes is a ball dominant point guard that can run the bench when Maxi's not out there, and they just kind of need players who can control the ball a little bit more than they need Caleb Martin right now. So I don't think it's a bad deal for the Sixers. I don't think it's a bad deal for the Mavericks either. I don't think Quentin Grimes was much as a help for them with Kyrie Irving there and Spencer Dinwiddie. But I just wanted to bring that up. So before we move on from the NBA, last thing we got to talk about is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is still not traded. It seems like he doesn't. It seems like apparently he was like blocking trades to contenders today. I don't know what that was about.
Multiple, yeah.
So, can you explain that? Do you know a little bit more about that?
I only know from the tweets that I saw, but I mean, that's exactly what it is. That he has narrowed his preference down to Phoenix, and he will not accept any trade. I guess he has a no trade clause, and he will not accept any trade that's not to Phoenix. So he doesn't care about role or money or anything, which is the opposite scenario.
So yeah, the leverage here for Jimmy is he has a player option and then he needs a contract extension. So it's not a no trade clause, but he's telling the teams, like the Warriors, he told the Warriors that he will not sign long term if they trade for him. And he told the Grizzlies the same thing. So his quest to get to Phoenix is pretty funny here. Does he realize that Bradley Beal has a no trade clause and Phoenix is screwed? Like Phoenix is screwed. There's no way they can get Jimmy Butler.
That no trade clause is the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh yeah.
It's such a pointless addition to that contract.
It's so great. Jimmy Butler's agent is just sitting there like laughing, or not Jimmy Butler's agent, Bradley Beal's agent, just sitting there laughing his ass off.
Well, and like you can't be mad at Bradley Beal.
Why would he want to leave Phoenix?
He gladly accepted a no trade. I know. He said he didn't want to uproot his family. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
And he's playing with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Why would he want? He comes off the bench. Who cares? He doesn't want to leave Phoenix. Now, I mean, and like, unless you're sending him to Miami, which I don't know why Miami would do it, because then you have Beal and Hero, which don't really fit. And then you're either like offshoring him to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee sending Chris Middleton somewhere, and who the hell is Miami taking in this scenario? Because they're the ones giving up Jimmy Butler, and at this point, like I was getting ready to the point like the Heat are just going to give up Jimmy Butler for like 2 second-round picks for whatever they can, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I think I'm just going to keep him unless we find something that's realistic, because I'll just keep him suspended for the rest of the season. Like,
yeah,
that's what I would do. Like, screw you, Jimmy Butler. I'm not going to destroy my team to make you happy. So,
yeah,
I don't know what to do
like
here.
when you're at the point where the return that you would get is like slim to none, then you might as well just send that culture message.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere, pal.
Yeah. And I think, like, why is he telling the Warriors that he won't sign there? And, like, maybe he doesn't want to sign there, but you want to get out of Miami, don't you? Like, you want to get out of there. Like, if he wants to get out of there that bad, he can't also sabotage against other teams. That's so stupid. And I guess this is why we're talking about. This is why we're talking about. This is why we were praising De'Aaron Fox. Literally, this exact scenario.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst that I can remember, though. I think Lillard did this, though. Didn't he say that he would only go to Miami, and it didn't work for him? But it wasn't like mid-season he was getting suspended from the team because he was such an ass all the time.
Sorry.
Wasn't at one point Lillard said that he would only play for Miami?
Yeah, but that was the offseason. Yes, no, that was the offseason,
right,
though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they didn't have time to it's ridiculous. I'm looking. They said there's something about maybe the Nuggets could get involved, but who knows if he'd sign with the Nuggets.
I think he wants to go from Miami to Denver.
No, I don't think he does. See,
if he wants Phoenix, he wants that warm weather.
He's a loser. He should just stick it out.
I don't know what I feel like he went from one of the most respected players, and it's hard to be respected when you've basically forced your way out of two. I guess, yeah, Chicago and then Minnesota, and then I think he wanted to stay a Sixer. Didn't work out, but like everybody respected him because of the runs that they went on in Miami, and now it's just like it's just completely nuked his reputation.
It gets really easy, I guess, when you're an NBA star and you do bullshit like this. I mean, there's no helmet to hide behind. You know, there's no pads to hide behind. You got to sit there and face the music. I hope he doesn't get what he wants. I hope he doesn't get on the Suns. And I hope Bradley Beal is sitting there on Thursday licking his chops with $50 million sitting on the Suns.
He will be. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking. That is what I'm thinking. There's not a deal that makes mathematical sense unless it's just Bradley Beal straight up for Jimmy Butler, and I don't know why the Heat would do that. Yeah, and yeah, Bradley Beal might say no. So they're screwed, which I'm totally fine with. So it's finally time for the Super Bowl. We're moving on from the NBA. I'm grabbing my notebook. I got the stats. Chris, so it's funny. The last week, like I guess the previous week, we had 2 weeks during the Super Bowl. I really didn't think about the Super Bowl really much at all.
I haven't really thought about it much.
Yeah, neither have I. I
I
have
think
not.
it's part of it's because, well, a couple things about the Chiefs. We see them every year in the Super Bowl. So it's not like there's nothing new and exciting. And we saw this exact matchup, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah,
So
3 years ago.
it's like it's not something new and exciting for us to talk about. Not that it won't be a good football game. I expect it to be. But that, and then like I feel like we preview these Chiefs games every week, and it's just we say the same things, which is we don't know if they're even the better team on paper, but they have Mahomes, and you can't make any mistakes against them. And the same applies here.
Yeah.
So I like there's honestly not there's not much that I have to say about this game, but it's the same situation as last week, where I do think that the Eagles are the better team. I think they're better than the Bills, obviously, but I think on paper it's a clear talent advantage. But you can't make any mistakes. If you make mistakes, you're going to lose a game.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, I think that's why people hate these Chiefs teams so much. I mean, they're not fun to watch. They're not they don't like their players are all over the place. So they're not really like the villain. Like they're not when you watch the Patriots back in the day, when Tom Brady stepped out on the field, everyone just hated that was the only time you were watching Tom Brady and everyone was just hating on him relentlessly. But now you see Patrick Mahomes every commercial. You see Patrick Mahomes on every time you open up your phone. You see Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and all the Chiefs all the time. So it's like they're too busy being like celebrated for these championships, and of course they deserve to be celebrated for the championships. But there's no like it's. I think that's why everyone's starting to turn on them so quickly, and it's not quickly, but so fast and so.
It's like when Baker was in all those commercials after he had a
Yeah.
decent rookie season.
Yes, and it's so when every
When
time
Baker stopped winning.
Yeah, and that's why he got off the commercial. So that's the issue with the Chiefs. Um, so like the Super Bowl media weeks and stuff, I feel like it's not as important. Like you're not getting like this
Mhm.
one-on-one conversation because you get Travis Kelce on his podcast every week. Because you get Patrick Mahomes on a commercial every time the screen turns black. And then they don't even play exciting football. They just win. They just win.
Yep.
They're not fun to watch. They grind your team down to the bare bones, and then the second you make a mistake, they break your kneecaps. It's
Pretty
a
much,
brutal
yeah.
watch. Yeah, every time. And I'm not expecting much difference in this game. Going into the game, I was reading some previews from some articles, and there's a lot of stats on both teams. Of course, it means the Super Bowl. There's a lot of stats for both teams that make it seem like they could win the Super Bowl. The Just some interesting stats though. The Chiefs are 9-0 in their last playoff games, including 2 Super Bowls, and they're one off from the Belichick Brady Patriots, who won 10 in a row. The Chiefs are 12-0 in one-score games in 2024, the most in NFL history in a season. And
They have a streak with one score games too, I believe. I don't know what it's
Oh.
it's like 15 in a row, I think.
not sure about that one, but I do know that that Kansas City Chiefs have trailed by 10 points in all 3 of their Super Bowl wins. So even when you think you have them beat by 10 points, which is historically 4 and crap, I don't have the exact number. 4 and I guess there's 55 because there's 59 Super Bowls. 4 and 54 for the remaining Super Bowl, down by 10 points. So Patrick Mahomes has 3, Tom Brady has 2. So 5, my bad.
Well, did all of those games have somebody who was up by 10 at some point?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. They're coming back from 10. Sorry. With a team that was down by 10, came back and won. It's only happened 5 times, and the Chiefs have done it 3 times in the Super Bowl.
It's 17 games in a row decided by one score that they've won.
On the Philly
That's
side,
unbelievable.
yeah. On the Philly side, Philly leads the league in time of possession with 32 minutes a game. That is going to be massive for this game. They're going to have to control the football. But here's where it gets tricky, because I think another key to this game is you need at least one Saquon Barkley long touchdown, and that cuts in on your time of possession. So you got to be tricky with that. You got to have a quick Saquon
I
Barkley
think they'll
touchdown,
trade the 7 points.
but also cheap time of possession. The Chiefs, this playoffs, are allowing 148 rushing yards a game. So they have been abysmal in the playoffs. They were really good in the regular season and have been bad in the playoffs. And the Eagles have an 8-0 turnover ratio, which they need to hold in this game. They need to hold big time. And then this is just while looking at stats, it pissed me off. Last week, the Chiefs allowed 144 rushing yards by the Bills, and their run success rate though was 38%. Which, if I'm getting run success rate right, which I might not, I didn't dig down into one success rate is. I'm guessing it's the amount of runs that result in first downs, and 38% for 144 yards is terrible for the Bills. And that is because they did that QB sneak 5 times in a row and got it stuffed 100 times. So that ah. And then I got one more stat here. Oh yeah. I just said that the Chiefs center is the best in the league and their line is massive. So that's going to be huge against the Eagles defensive front.
Yeah, strength gets strength.
I don't know what any of this means though. I think it means I like the Eagles rushing attack. I like a lot of the Saquon props. And I think if the Eagles win, it's a Saquon MVP. I think that's kind of what I'm boiling down to. It has to be a Saquon game.
Part of me thinks that, but on the other hand, like if you get the Jalen Hurts that you got in the NFC Championship, then I don't think there's any way that they can lose. Yeah, that's a big if because he basically played a perfect football game. But like he's getting the MVP if he puts up those numbers again.
That's true. It's going to be. I just think I have a lot more confidence in their rushing ability against the Chiefs than their passing ability will be.
Yeah, and granted, the Chiefs' defense is significantly better than Washington's defense. So.
Yes, yeah, that can be said about.
But you do like if he's very good, I find it hard to believe that they lose this game. Like if they don't turn the ball over, and he just makes the plays that he needs to, then I know that the response to that is, well, it's Mahomes, and it's if one play goes wrong, it flips the entire game because that's when they strike, and as soon as you one turnover, one bad penalty, one like huge, like if Sirianni calls it double reverse when they're in field goal range, and all of a sudden they're out of field goal range, like boom, that's a 10-point swing because then they go down and score a touchdown. Stuff like that is what like makes you nervous. But I really think the Eagles are a lot better.
I think that too. I'm getting distracted by the comments. So sorry about that. Ethan was saying, he said I perfectly described the last few years of the Pats dynasty. I actually only described the 2018 run. And during that run, we blew out the Chargers by 40 in a playoff game. So suck my balls, Ethan. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, that was aggressive. I apologize, Ethan. That was aggressive. A lot of stats that I'm reading, a lot of people think that the Eagles can win this and take it with ease, honestly. And I don't see there's no scenario where this is going to be easy.
There's no ease.
Yes, I was going to say there's no scenario where this is going to be easy. They need to play perfect offense. They need to contain Mahomes as much as possible. Mahomes is going to use his legs. He uses his legs the most in the Super Bowl. I think Zach Bond is going to be huge against Travis Kelce because Travis Kelce is huge in the Super Bowl. He's a perfect pass coverage linebacker against Travis Kelce. He is one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He's been playing great for Philly this year. It's a shame that Nakobe Dean's not out there to help him out, but they should have a game plan just similar to the Bills to minimize Travis Kelce as much as possible. That being said, he has like 300 something yards in Super Bowls, not the playoffs, Super Bowls.
It's slowing him down. It's not taking him out of the game.
Yeah. Yes. And what would concern me though is the best player for the Commanders last week, Zach Ertz. That would concern me.
Yeah, but I almost think that that's a testament to like the way that they the way that they game plan against Commanders.
Explain.
And like you're willing to get like we're not going to let McLaurin beat us deep, and he
Yeah.
didn't. We're not going to let Jaden beat us on the ground, and he didn't. You go into you go into the game knowing that you're not going to stop him every possession. What you're okay with giving up is the short completions to Zach Ertz. And
Yeah.
so I think like the game plan going into Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is much different than like Zach Ertz is not the top weapon on the offense.
Yeah.
Like you're not game planning to take him out of the game. Whereas with the Chiefs, like I'm sure that they have. I'm not going to pretend to know how a defensive coordinator goes about accounting for Travis Kelce, but
we got to get talk to
imagine
Vic.
it's a
We
lot
got to
different.
talk. We got to talk to Vic. We got to get Joseph
we
to
gotta
talk to
I'll
Vic.
get back on here.
Yeah, we got to talk to Vic. So,
But I guess that's my point is that
Yeah.
like I'm sure that they were perfectly comfortable giving up chunk play, not even chunk plays, like decent gains to Zach Ertz if that meant Jaden wasn't running for 20 yards and McLaurin wasn't beating him over the top.
I agree with that. I think that makes perfect sense. I think that's the positive for the Eagles. Then my counter to that would be this is where we see, and I've been screaming it from the top of the hill since the playoffs have started. But this is where my boy DeAndre Hopkins comes in, and
Yeah.
and that's what I like. That's what I'd be worried about if I'm an Eagles fan, where it's like got Travis Kelce covered. There's not a lot of big plays by Worthy. Kareem Hunt's really not doing nothing on the ground. Shit, DeAndre Hopkins has 2 touchdowns.
Well, the other side of it is like you could just get death by 1,000 8-yard completions.
Yep.
And it's like, you get them, first down is 1-yard rush. Second down is, a 2-yard pickup. 3rd and 7, and then it's Travis Kelce, and he finds a hole. Boom, 8 yards, first down. And they're like, you could have 6 of them on one drive, and they just get every single one of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's the second it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. There's so many options on the Chiefs, and the last option is almost the most dangerous one of Mahomes just running a bootleg and getting the first down. And that, I mean, those are of course, I mean, we've said this in every playoff game, I think. You gotta keep them in 3rd and long. You gotta keep them in these down and distance. And
you got no shot.
you have absolutely no shot. And I think the Eagles have a good enough defense. Their weakness in their weakness in the Super Bowl last time was their secondary, and their secondary was getting obliterated the whole game. And they had some special teams mistakes. This is a much better Eagles defense. Their secondary is much more complete. And hopefully, I mean, really, hopefully you're not.
Football.
Yeah, can't fumble the football.
It's a big one in the last game.
Yeah, that was our guy.
Changed the whole game.
That was our Bolton, right?
Bolton.
Yeah, Nick Bolton, wise guy of the draft that year. We gotta take our dubs. Sorry, we gotta throw our dubs out there.
I don't think nobody except for Ethan knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what the comments say. We got Stuart Lipsco. He says 42-31 Eagles. Barkley goes off for 150 and 3 touchdowns. It's a lot of points. It's a lot of points right there. That would be an exciting Super Bowl. I mean, as long as it's not a blowout, it would be exciting. But yeah, I mean that'd be cool. I'd like to see. I think Saquon is going to go off for a lot of yards, and that's the other thing about this Eagles team. When you look at the previous Super Bowl, the previous Super Bowl was Miles Sanders for 16 carries, 20 yards, and a fumble. Yep. So this is those 16 carries are going to end up a lot different when you hand it in Saquon Barkley's hand than when you hand it in Miles' hand. Yeah, it's funny because it seems like it's a similar Chiefs team that we saw a couple years ago, and it's a much more improved Eagles team. So it's not like it's theirs to lose because the Chiefs are going for a three-peat. So they're of course the ones here with the pressure, but it seems like it's all coming together here for the Eagles, and hopefully we see that. I don't want to see a three-peat, but I did say last episode that I'm rooting for my pick. I said the Chiefs should win the Super Bowl because
you don't have said, you never get it.
No, I never bet it, so like I really don't care that much. I'm just for my podcast pride stake. But I'm willing to see them lose in spots of a bad take because I make them all the time.
Yep.
All right, what else we got here, Chris? I think preview wise before the
We're
props.
saving props. I just
Yeah, I was
pulled
gonna
up DraftKings, so
Oh, we're getting juicy already.
we'll give it our what are we doing? Thursday?
Mhm. Yeah, Thursday is the big props pod.
Props and parlays and everything under the sun. Anthem, Gatorade, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
Which is really what makes the Super Bowl the best.
it
And
does.
if you're down about the Super Bowl, like
Suck it up.
I was saying at the beginning that it's that we've seen this before and we've seen the Chiefs so many years in a row. Who cares? You can bet on anything.
It's the last football game of the year. You gotta love it. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, man. Everyone's watching it. There's not gonna. You're not. I think they said it on Part of My Take, and they're kind of copying it. But you're not gonna not watch it. You're gonna sit there
Right,
and
yeah.
watch it, no matter how much you hate the
do
Chiefs.
love that. It's like
and the
everyone's like, "Oh, the Super Bowl sucks." Like even people that say that they're not excited for it. Like at 5:30 on Sunday when you're eating buffalo chicken dip and maybe having a couple cold ones, like you're gonna be excited for the game to start.
Yeah, and all of a sudden there's
Probably
like,
bet on some things that you shouldn't be betting on. You'll probably lose some money. It'll be worth it. It'll be a fun night.
yeah, exactly. And by, as you said, by 5:30 on Sunday, there's gonna be like, there's gonna be people around in your house, whether you know it or not, getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
It's a bad matchup in the grand scheme of things, but it should provide a good Super Bowl. It should be a lot of points.
Well, I will also say, and this applies for life as well. I'm getting a little wise here.
Okay.
But if you try to not watch with so much hate,
Yeah.
then you might actually enjoy the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
go into it like hating Patrick Mahomes so much and expecting the refs to win the game for them. Or if you're in the NFC East, hating the Eagles so well. I guess that one would be hard if you're a Dallas fan or whatever. But like, try to just appreciate the football.
That
That's all I'll say.
pretend they're wearing blue. Pretend the Chiefs are wearing blue. Like just and the other thing is
Then they beat the Pats.
Yeah, that's true. Then they just think they're the Pats. Green. Actually, they're both green. Whatever. Orange. I just hope that this game does not come down to a call, and we don't have to sit through. I cannot.
I mean, that's what the last one did too.
Well, the last Eagles one. Yeah, I couldn't. I can't come here on
that would be
Monday and talk about a call that quote unquote ruined it or didn't ruin it. I just can't do it anymore. Yeah. I don't want to do it. That being said,
that would really suck.
Yeah, it would not be fun.
If we avoid that, I think we're gonna have a fun night.
Yeah, I think that's really the key.
The problem is that I know I'm kind of like backtracking on what I said 2 minutes ago, but we have seen that a lot in many Chiefs playoff games. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. The Bengals AFC Championship, some dicey stuff there. That Eagles Super Bowl, and then the Bills game that we just watched.
So I want to know, and maybe there is a way that we can research this. But are these are these calls really so egregious, or do we just see them more?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if you watch the game expecting the refs to win the game for the Chiefs, then every single call you're gonna think the NFL's rigged.
Yeah. And I think people just go into Chiefs game thinking that. Like it's the first quarter and they'll get a first down somewhere and they'll be like, I just won the game. Chiefs just handed the game.
Yeah. They'd miss like one holding call. You're like, this is so rigged.
Yep.
They call like a roughing the passer that they've called every time for the past 3 years, and we get upset about it. It's like, are you not used to it by this point? Like, I know it's frustrating.
I'm
not used to it at this point.
While we're ranting about calls and people complaining about calls, I cannot stand when people bitch about the roughing the passer calls. If you touch them in the helmet, you're getting the flag. You're getting the flag if you touch them in the helmet or in the knees.
If you tackle them at the knees, it's a penalty.
And if you hit, if your
is that
pinky,
right or wrong? I'm not here to say that, but it's the rule.
If your
like,
pinky,
it's not like they're making poor calls,
grazes the helmet of Patrick Mahomes, it's 15 yards, grazes the helmet. I mean, like the guys, like they'll be like, oh, he barely even touched him, but he touched his helmet. It's all that matters.
You're allowed to complain about the missed ones. That's what you're allowed to complain about. They missed one on your quarterback. Now
yeah,
you
that's
can complain
true.
about that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can't complain about misholding calls, though. Can't complain about misholding calls. You can do that every play. Every play is a holding call.
That's true.
Like,
what if they bring in Mike Pereira and he points it out? Then can you complain?
But I hate that too.
That's what they did last week, and they said, "Oh, it's Barkley on this play should have been a hold." It's like, oh, well, now I'm pissed. I hate when they do that. By the way,
no, I was gonna say I don't want. No, it just makes everyone bitch.
Do that. Don't show it on the freaking broadcast.
Yeah, let the guys
hear about that the next day when I'm listening to the radio.
Yeah, it's some local guys bitching about it. That's what you need. Can't have the live broadcast. I don't want to
hear Mike Pereira telling me that they should have called a hold.
Or that they should have called it first down on the Bills game.
This is unpopular opinion. I kind of want the ref in the booth to just agree with what they call. Don't get me riled up. I don't want to hear somebody who thinks that they're above the referee saying that they made.
It's like, why aren't you making the call?
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, it's like, why aren't you making the call then? If New York agrees with it, then why don't they change it on the field? Like, that's what pisses me off. And yeah, now it pissed me off. I was a Buffalo fan last week with him coming in. Oh, I think that's a first down. It's like, shut the fuck. Like, you're not on the field. Like, you're not on the field.
It's so they should be there. This is a great side tangent, by the way, but they should be there to explain rules. So, like last week in the Commanders-Eagles game, when they said the crap about the probably unfair act. Yeah. That's when you bring him in, and he's like, well, actually, in this section of the rule book, here's what it says. Like, here's how it applies here. That's great, right? I don't want him to point out a misholding call. Like, I can see that with my own eyes, and I miss it. And if I miss it, good for me.
And
I'm not mad about it.
You need him for when there's a penalty, like the new hip drop stuff. If they call that in the Super Bowl, we need him to come in and be like, this is what he could have done last year, and this is what he did this year to do the like. That's what we need him for. We don't need him for. Oh, that shouldn't have been a holding call. It's like, get out of here.
It's just not helping anybody.
No,
it's like the strike zone bots in baseball games now that has just like definitely increased rage watching baseball, because now every single pitch, even if it's like the tiniest little sliver outside of the box, it gets called a strike. Like, let's fuck it up. Like, he's the worst. I don't like. That's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for the umps. It's not good for the casual fan.
No, it's really not.
You see the baseball ump just got fired for who's like connected with one of his friends was like gambling on baseball, and he was like sharing his account with him. I didn't read too much into it, but the dude is like the best ump in baseball. He called a perfect game in the World Series.
Oh, that's a shame.
Like, didn't miss a ball or a strike. I know.
That's a shame.
It's like, just let him ump. Who cares? He's doing his job well. Why do we care?
Oh, that's a shame. There was a weird Terry Rozier thing that came around too. That I really couldn't point. Like, when reading the article, it was like, yeah, he really didn't do anything. And I was like, what? So what's the point of this article? And then they're like, well, we're still investigating in case he did do anything. And I was like, all right. So it was kind of a nothing article. Yeah, it was weird.
Maybe I'll have to read the article about the MLB guy. But he actually got fired.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's not an investigation. He got fired.
Yeah, you'll have to send me that. I'll take a look at it. I think that does it. We're doing full props, gambling, everything. Super Bowl Thursday.
We always win our Super Bowl picks.
We do pretty good on Super Bowl picks. We'll toot our own horn. We do good on Super Bowl picks. We got Gatorade. I think Gatorade's been purple ever since that Rams one, by the way. So that's
You're the Gatorade guy. I don't touch that.
All right, you want to hear my? Should I save it, or should I have some insights on the Gatorade already?
Save it.
All right, I'll save it. All right, yeah, teaser insights on the Gatorade color, and everything else. Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Thank you all for listening.